bearing in mind this is a presentation for people that don't know me, but basically I'm Richard Williams, I'm a web solutions provider, been doing it for about 10 years. What I want to talk to you today is about blogging and blogging for business, and just to think about whether you should blog or you shouldn't blog. A blogging strategy is what you all need, even if it's
what blogging is.
Yes, even if it's just to say, well, I'm not going to blog. And what blogging is it's a method of using your website to keep a diary and to allow people to interact with you and be able to have two-way communication. It differs greatly from the standard marketing broadcasting, which is one way. So you're allowing people to talk back to you and get into what they're now calling the conversation. So what I'll do is I'll go through basically what blogging is all about. We'll cover what a blog is, the various blogging software there is available, what really simple syndication is all about, and to be honest, if you're not going to blog, you're not going to have your own blog, knowing what other people are blogging about can be a very useful source of information, and the easy way to do it is to use something called really simple syndication. It's just another bit of software. You don't need to know what goes on under the bonnet. Just think that 10 years ago you didn't know how to use a web browser. It's simpler than that, and it can in actual fact be part of your web browser if you want it to be. We'll take a little look at blog marketing, and then we'll draw things to a close and have a Q&A afterwards. All in 20 minutes. What's a blog? When did it start? And what happened in 2004 that was so significant? Well, I think I've sort of covered what a blog is. It's an interactive diary that people can get into conversation with you. When did it start? Difficult to say. The software that came about probably that enabled people to do it in the modern sense of what blogging is, rather than just keeping a diary that nobody can interact with, probably started around about 1999. What happened in 2004 was that we had the American elections, and people started to follow what the politicians were saying in their blogs, and some weird and wonderful things actually happened over there in the States, and centres actually lost their places as a result of the opinion and groundswell of opinion that circulated through these blogs, and then from there it's absolutely snowballed. The software, well, there are many packages. We'll have a look at the industry leaders and what the blogging terms mean, and we'll look at integration and costs so you have an idea of that. First of all, Blogger. It's a free software package. It's run by Google, and when it first started it was very good. You can have multiple blogs if you want to. You can have it hosted on your own server, or you can have it hosted by Google. So you've got that flexibility. You've got an interface that allows you to write your blogs and remove comments and do all sorts of things in order to maintain your blog. It does have limited functionality. Bear in mind it is free. Google are constantly adding things and facilities, but you are limited by their schedule, not somebody who's written the software for you, but it's a lot cheaper. A bugbear of mine is that the interface is quite slow, and if you want the address, it's www.blogger.com. Typepad is another one, another leading player in the field. Various versions, Basic, Plus and Pro. You can have a monthly or yearly subscription, and of course from that you've worked out it is a paid-for service. They do have a free version that you can use, which obviously is a cut-down version of the paid-for service. If you pay for it, you get your support in the first year. It's a hosted solution, so basically you host it on your server. It can be difficult to customise, but again, that's what people like me are around for. And there's an address there, which I can give to you afterwards, that actually lists where you can find them. Movable Type is the paid-for version, and it comes in standard and enterprise. There's a one-off fee. The fee is dependent on the number of users. I think the basic fee, you get 5 users can use it, because with blogs you can have a number of people contributing and writing on the blog. So it's limiting you by the number of users. Major version upgrades are not included, so you have to pay if you want upgrades. And again, the URL's there for you. Sorry?
Sounds like Mr. Cape's product.
Yeah, it's caught on because there weren't when they started there weren't many alternatives about, and it's still one of the best solutions.
You pay for each new system instead of getting upgrades.
The one I like is WordPress. I say it's free. The software is free. If you want it installed in a professional manner to give your business a better edge, then you're going to need to speak to somebody of a technical turn of mind. You host it on your own server, or you can have it hosted by WordPress. I'm in favour of having it hosted on your own server, because then you have control over it. If WordPress's servers get overloaded, there's nothing you can do about that. So hosting it on your own server, if you have your own web server, is the better solution. There are more than 500 design templates that you can just take off the shelf and install, and they will work straight away. Most people in business would prefer to have them customised so that they look like the rest of their site. There's hundreds of plugins, which means that you can add to the functionality, so it will do a lot more than just the basic software. It's extremely versatile, and I've put there it's essential for a professional to set up if you want the best out of it, because again you're dealing with software, you're dealing with code, and you probably won't want to. You've all got businesses to run. The nice thing about WordPress is it's got its own content management system, which means that you can log in, you can write your own pages, you can write your own posts, so you can in actual fact turn it into a website with a blog, as opposed to a blog with a content management system. So there is a subtle difference, but basically if you want blogging software and you want to incorporate it so that you can actually maintain your own website, or the ordinary web pages, you can do so with WordPress. It's not likely that you'll find somebody that's going to set it up on a Microsoft server, because it is PHP based and MySQL based, which is different to the way Microsoft run, although you can put that software on their server, so it's just something to watch out for. Blogging terms. Well, you've got things called posts, and that's where the blogger writes an article and he posts it onto his website, into the blog section. And that is what people will comment. The comments are for people who read the article, they're interested, they want to add some input in there, they want to make a comment, they want to say, I totally agree with you, or you've got that completely wrong, and that's the way they do it, through the comments. You can also respond to them using the comments as well. So it can be an ongoing dialogue. Trackbacks. Now, I really love trackbacks, because what trackbacks do is they allow you to write about what somebody else has written on their blog in your own blog, and put a trackback in which then links to their site, and if they've got the right software, that site will then put a link back to your site. So you can see where this is going, because the search engines absolutely love trackbacks, they love links from site to site, and your blogs can do extremely well in the search engine, so it's another way of people finding your site. They can move from the blog into the rest of your site if they want to. The blogosphere is basically like the internet, only it's the network of blogs, because they're all, you get things that are called blog rolls. I've skipped one, blog rolls. This is a list of links on your site to other people's blogs. So you can see how all these blogs start interrelating with each other. And this whole network of blogs is referred to as the blogosphere, rather like the internet, but it's just related to blogs. And the conversation is basically what's going on in these blogs. What it is tending to happen is you are finding out information minutes or hours after it's happened, as opposed to traditional media. In fact, the media and the newspapers are now referring to and quoting blogs. in their newspaper articles and on news broadcast items on places like the BBC. So they are becoming very important. But this whole sort of communication is referred to as the conversation. Right, really simple syndication. How do you keep a track of this conversation? Do you start visiting all these blogs? Do you start opening your web browser and going to all these different blogs and try to keep track of them? I suggest not. You get what's called a system called really simple syndication, otherwise referred to as RSS. You have aggregators, newsreaders and feed readers, and they are all the same thing. They're a bit of software that links to a feed on somebody's blog site, and then you can open your feed reader, click a button, and it will update in the feed reader all those blogs that have new articles. So you can then look through them and say, right, well, I want to look at that one, and that one, and you can file them in categories, be it technology, blogs, browsers. These are all my categories. You would have your own categories for your areas of interest. So it's very easy to keep a track of these blogs, and it will open in a window on your computer, and you will actually be able to read the content of the blogs on your computer screen rather than having to go to the website. If you want to then, as a result of reading something, go to the website, you'll click on a link and it will open your browser and take you there. So it's very, very useful. It's actually pushing the information to you rather than you having to go and look at it. And for a very long time, I didn't use an RSS feed reader. I just did it the long-handed way, but as soon as I installed it, I thought, well, I'll never go back. Various examples of feed readers. You've got ones that are web-based, ones that install onto your own machine, ones that install into your web browser. They're just different ways of doing the same thing. I happen to use one that's built into my web browser because it's convenient. There's one called Pluck, which is both web-based and desktop. So you can access it from your desktop, but if you happen to be in a hotel somewhere or an internet cafe, you can use any machine and log in and look at your feed reader and start reading the articles. NewsGator is another one. That's a paid-for one, although I believe the web version is free, but the desktop and the mobile and the PDA ones are paid-for software you have to buy. The advantage of NewsGator is that they are synchronizing the desktop, the web and your mobile applications units like PDAs, so that you're not duplicating any content. Bloglines is a very good web-based one. It's one of the first ones and it's very easy to use. I prefer it over Pluck. Pluck, the display can get a bit cluttered. Google is another free one. It's not quite as sophisticated, and the address there at the bottom will give you a whole list of feed readers that you could go and try out if you so desired. Tracking blog activity. Sites like Technorati, IceRocket, BlogPulse, they actually track blogs and will enable you to search their sites for blogs that could be of interest in your area. And they pick up very quickly new posts that have been made, and in turn the search engines actually refer to these sites and they will actually pick up your articles, and you've got the potential for being ranked. Alongside your blog activity, you can also look at your web stats to see, how many visits you've had to particular pages. I mean, I've got one page that comes up time and time again, and the comments have been going on for about a year. It's all about a very large hosting company that's ripping people off. But I'm on the first page for that particular search term. So again, it's getting people to my site. Contributing to other blogs. It's called the conversation, interacting. Most important thing to do is to listen. We've got 2 ears and 1 mouth. We should use them in that proportion. You've heard that phrase. It applies to blogging even more so. Don't add comments like, I agree. It doesn't add anything to the conversation. It doesn't make you look good. Listen by reading, understand, value and respect these people, make your own contribution if it's appropriate. When you make a contribution, you can put in your web address. So you leave your comment, there's a link on your name. If somebody's interested in something you've said, they might think, this is a bright guy, he's got something of interest to say, I'm going to click on his link and take a look at his site. And bear in mind that all these links, by leaving comments on other people's sites and leaving all these links, you are building the inbound links to your website. Have you tried getting reciprocal links? How many people have you asked to put in a reciprocal link with your site and they just don't do it? This is a brilliant way of getting links back into your site. And of course they're not asking you to put a link back to them. So you can build up lots of inbound links, which is what search engines like Google, that really impresses them and they give you a good ranking as a result. So it's very valuable. I've briefly touched on trackbacks. Again, this is a way, if you run out of ideas, if you are running your own blog and writing articles, then if you're stuck for a subject, by reading other people's articles, that could spark something. You could write about what they've said on your own website, which of course is giving you fodder for your blog. And then again, because you're using the trackback system, you'll get a link from their site back to yours. I mean, I've done this on a site called Seth Godin's site. He's a marketing guru, one of the top people. And you're just basically getting a link back to your site from a phenomenally large traffic site. And that is quite invaluable, given particularly if you're picking, you know, the right subjects that people are interested in. And again, linked to other blogs. We talked about the blog role. This is etiquette. This is playing the game. If you link to other people, people are more inclined to link back to you. So again, it's doing your search engine campaign a lot of good. Your own blog posts. You've got to find your own voice. You've got to be real. This is not a sales pitch. People see this, they'll disappear from your blog faster than you would want them to or could imagine. Be helpful, be a thought leader. Get in there with information that hasn't got out into the press or wherever, first of all. Get it mentioned. Be seen as being helpful. Start dialogue with people. This is communications. This is building relationships. It's happening in a goldfish bowl. And a lot of companies are a little bit afraid of this because they're not all keen on working transparently. But a guy said to me yesterday, he said, I love being transparent with my customers. It's the way I operate. This will be fantastic for me. If you've got a very controlled environment where they want to filter everything, then maybe blogging isn't for that business. I think I've probably rambled on and covered quite a few of these points already. We've talked about interacting with people. You've got to treat them as people, not just customers. People don't want to be talked at, they don't want to be patronised, they want to be involved. And one of the offshoots of this is that when people start blogging about you, if they're happy with you and they're commenting about what you're saying in your own blog, they're spreading the word for you. They're actually talking about your business. So that's free marketing for you. You can use it for feedback for your marketing. We're thinking of doing this. What's your reaction to it? People might come up with better ideas for you. You don't know. It could be a breeding ground for new ideas for your business. And also, you can get comments obviously posted on your blog where you haven't asked for feedback, but you'll get it. Sometimes it's can be more critical than you would like. They've coined a new phrase called tough love, and basically it's people telling you what they think of your business. Yes, it's in public and you've got to respond accordingly, but you can turn criticism into positive outcomes. But again, it's all about being honest and having the balls to be honest and actually seem to be putting things right if things are wrong. Just some tips and advice, basically so that people can contact you in other ways. If a subject becomes sensitive, you might want to move it into email. Somebody might have criticised you, said, I've had terrible service from this company. You might email them and say, look, I'm really sorry about this. This is what happened. Then you might leave a comment in your blog to say, I've spoken to the person, we know the issues involved, we've explained what it's all about, we're putting it right, and I'll leave another comment to update you on how things have got sorted, so that you're actually removing the detail and taking the sting out of it, but still being seen to be doing something about it and being open, honest and transparent. Always respond. That's another thing. There was a company that had millions of pounds of damage done to them because they didn't even know people were commenting about their security locks, which you could pick with a big biro. That got out into the blogosphere, they didn't know about it, and they got absolutely hammered to the tune of millions. Had they known about it, they could have responded, but the worst thing you can do is not respond to a criticism. But you've got to be careful how you respond, obviously. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Thank commentators when you do respond, acknowledge the issues, admit when you fail, be honest, solve the problems, take ownership, answer the questions. I think it's all stuff I've sort of covered. Don't use canned replies. People spot them a mile off. And follow up on the issues, as I've said. Responding to another blog, somebody's talking about you on their blog, they haven't brought it to your blog. You may not be able to take the conversation into email with them because you don't know their email address. You can only apologise if it's a bad experience. You can ask the commentator to actually talk to you via email direct. I don't know what sort of response, you won't always get a positive response to that, but you can ask. And yeah, you can say on your own blog and in their blog, look, we do propose doing something about it and what you're going to do. Cease and desist warnings from lawyers. The blogosphere has a field day with them. I don't know whether you've come across a gentleman, a lawyer, a partner in or about to be a partner in a firm. I'm not sure now that he will be. But a secretary spilt something on his suit. You know about it. The bill was £4 and he insisted that she paid. And she was away for 2 weeks and so she didn't respond. But when she did come back, she did respond to him and she copied it to everybody else in the firm, and I think it got outside the firm and he was made to look a complete and utter idiot.
It hit the national press, though.
Did it? Yeah, and it's also, you're going to get people talking. I mean, it's slightly off subject, but Dell, for a very long time, did not have a blog. And they had a problem where somebody commented on their own blog and wanted answers from Dell, and Dell wouldn't comment. They had their share prices go down, they reckon, as a result of this. They eventually started their own blog, and I would say that it is basically a textbook example of how to start a blog up. They have done really, really well. They've had all the tough comments, they've had all the criticism, but they've also, what you tend to get, if somebody criticises and it's not valid, you tend to get other people contributing and giving a more balanced view, so that when the vice president of GM Motors was heavily criticised in his own blog, he had about 43 positive comments saying, look, this isn't quite right, let's get a better perspective on it. So he was actually letting other people defend him. Yeah. But you, in all of this, you've got to be honest. I don't know if he's got a blog personally, but there are about 1,000 Microsoft blogs, and the guy that really kicked it off for them and turned their sort of their image about as from a company that didn't listen to one that was actually prepared to listen was a guy called Robert Scoble, who's written a book called Naked Conversations. It's a book that's worth reading. He is incredibly honest. He's actually, I think, been, and I wonder, you know, how far these people go and whether they might end up getting a power complex, because I think he's been instrumental in bringing members of the Hewlett-Packard board down and making them resign, because his blog is so hugely influential. And again, these comments and these opinions start flying around. So you can see that if you're not doing good things and people talk about it, there is potential for you to get a real hammering. If you're doing things right, I mean, for example, English Cut is a Savile Row tailor, another classic case study. He's a Savile Row tailor, and by blogging, he's increased his turnover by 300%. And getting a lot of very positive press about it. I think you have to weigh things up. and look at this from a balanced point of view. Not everybody is going to be a top blogger. You will get varying degrees of success, but of course the pro bloggers will always promote the high profile cases and use them as an example to say why blogging is good. They're right to do that in a sense, but have a sense of perspective about it. If you decide blogging is not for me, you might well say to yourself, but I'm going to listen to what other people are saying, because it could be important and I could pick up a lot of useful information that's useful to me in my own business. I think I will move on, because I think I've sort of covered commenting about blogs. I don't think everybody's a born blogger. If people are going to fall asleep and the head's going to hit the keyboard after reading the third paragraph, you're probably better getting somebody else in the company to do the blogging. Yeah, be passionate, because if you're not enthusiastic, chances are your customers are not going to be enthusiastic, and it's contagious. But at the same time, don't go from being passionate about something into hype, because again, we all spot that. Be authentic, be real, be honest. Those are the three watchwords. So yeah, I've covered that. Have a strategy. Know your reasons for starting. Know how you're going to determine its success, how you're going to measure that success. Take ownership and accountability for it. It is a commitment. Can you afford the time to be writing articles and blogging? Are you going to have one blog, or is your company going to have lots of blogs in different departments talking about different areas of expertise? Have a blogging policy. Now, if you're a one-man band, you make your own blogging policy. You don't have to worry about it. If you've got employees blogging, how far are you going to trust them to be honest and have your interests at heart? When I say this, Robert Scoble was renowned for commenting on competitors' products and saying whether he thought they were good or bad. And if it was a good product, he would say it's a good product. He would even say, I think it's better than Microsoft's product. But then Microsoft teams would listen to him and say, where are we going wrong? And they'd get some value out of it. So, and this actually had a positive effect on Microsoft, because people started to see that they were being more, or being perceived as being more honest. So.
But it comes into the contract with employment, isn't it? Part of the contract with employment, if you have it with employees, is that you don't bring the company into disrepute.
Yeah.
And if that's on a blog, then that's just
yeah. I mean, a good employee is one that has the company's interests at heart. I mean, because there are always ways of saying things. So it is a very important.
Have an internet use and computer use policy and code of conduct that you sign up to.
And this is why I say, if you've got this sort of very much controlled environment where they keep a very tight rein, blogging may not be for that company. They've got to look at their own internals. Are they prepared to be criticised? Because if they're not, then that's the worst thing you can do, is to start ignoring somebody's criticism.